So I just got done reading the book of Jubilees, and in the book of Jubilees, from the chapter 1 to chapter 50, it's all about keeping the laws, statutes, and commands of our Creator. So I read a lot of the Old Testament. I read a lot of the extracurricular books. I read everywhere. I read everything. But then I come across the writings of Paul. And Paul is the God of the Christian church. It is very unfortunate because Peter gives us a warning that if you don't understand the writings of Paul, you're going to be led astray and you have weak minds and things of that nature. But it's very clear that Brother Shaul did not write a very good way of writing. How he writes things is extremely, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Is the word ignorant? Is it ignorant that we actually have books in the Bible that lead us astray? Is it any coincidence that Hasatan has added scriptures, or what people call scriptures, and people that they say have written these books, and it's clear they contradict the words of the Torah? And if we are to obey something for all generations, and it's supposed to write it on our hearts, minds, and souls, put it on the doorpost of our house, we're supposed to rise to it in the morning, go do it when we go to bed. When we run across things like this, we have to wonder if the writings of Paul are simply trash. Is it something that Hasatan has put in to lead people astray? Now, I've just gone through the first 3 chapters of Timothy, and every one, I'm sitting here shaking my head. Now, let me begin in 1 Timothy 4, because this is very interesting. It says, "Now the Ruach speaks expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing Ruach and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from food, which Elohim has created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. For every creature of Elohim is good, and nothing to be refused, if it be received with thanksgiving. For it is sanctified by the word of Elohim and prayer." Now you look at this, and anyone who's in the Torah knows absolutely we have a Leviticus 11 dietary law that we keep. We don't eat every animal that is provided by our Creator and say it with thanksgiving. We don't go out and eat a viperous snake. We don't go out and eat swine. We don't do things that our Creator has said is an abomination. So how did things like this end up in our scriptures? Now, let's take it back one chapter, and I'll keep shaking my head with you guys. Now, this is Paul's laws. What can I say other than Paul said? Now, he's telling people how to be a deacon in a church, right? How to be an elder in a church. He says things of, you got to be on good behavior. You got to give to hospitality. You can't be a striker, not a brawler. So we look at these things and we ask ourselves, where in the Torah did we learn anything about being a deacon? Well, we didn't. We would learn about how to be a Levitical priest if that was the days we were in, but we don't have a Levitical priest because we have a Melchizedek priest, which is Yahusha HaMashiach, or a lot of you guys know him as Jesus the Christ. So I'm just shaking my head that Paul has a whole bunch of doctrines for creating deacons in churches. Well, that's interesting. Let's take it back to the next one. And here is where Paul goes into talking about men. What does it take for a man to be a man? And then we go into what does it take about women. And he says, in like manner, verse 9, in like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array, but which comes from women professing reverence for Yahuwah with good works. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, no to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. Okay, so where in the Torah does it say anywhere that our women need to be silent? Where is Brother Shaul coming up with this stuff? And why does it not make any sense to us? Well, it's probably because verse 2 of the very first thing, it's not written to us. It's not even, we are eavesdropping on a letter about a little church they are creating. Now, when we are looking at this, and we are looking at what Paul is saying here, he's talking about, there's some good stuff in here. There's definitely good stuff, but you can take it out of hand, right? This one right here is good. Desiring to be teachers of the Torah, understanding neither what they say nor whereof they affirm, but we know that the Torah is good if a man conducts himself in accordance to the Torah, right? So that's correct, right? If we conduct ourselves in the manner of the Torah, we walk the same way our Elohim tells us to walk. That's the right thing. Well, where does it get weird? Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the wicked and disobedient. Okay, Messiah Yahushua said that. For the unholy and for the sinners, for them without Yahuwah and profane, for murders and fathers and murders of mothers, for manslayers. It's for all of the people that have done stuff like this. Now, how do we know gets a little weird? How do we know this isn't to us? Well, he brings in verse 20 right here. He says, of whom Hymenaeus and Alexander, whom I have delivered unto Satan, that they may learn not to blasphemy. Who are these people, right? Where did these people come from? Why are we reading what people in a Christian church would consider doctrine? I believe at some level that Paul is out of his mind. And I know that's going to have a lot of people upset, and a lot of people are probably going to unsubscribe. And there's this unsubscribe button. It's right above, right underneath the video. Click unsubscribe if you don't want to hear this. But the more that I read the writings of Brother Paul, the more it looks anti-Torah. The more that, yes, we have to basically go through every single line of what Paul writes, and we have to make an excuse for it because he says some things that are completely weird. Take, for instance, Acts 21, where he said the Torah doesn't matter, neither does circumcision. But we know that there is a commandment for circumcision. And we also know that Torah should be our lifeblood. It should be what we invest everything that we have into. So what do we do when we run across teachings of Brother Shaul that lead us into confusion? What do we do with this? Well, what we have to do with this, number one, is we have to be established firmly in the Torah. Now, the Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That is the meat and potatoes of the life that we are supposed to lead. The commandment in Deuteronomy 6 is that we are to write the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, on our hearts, on our mind, on our soul, the doorpost. We're supposed to read them to our kids. We're supposed to talk about them when we rise up. We're supposed to talk about them when we go to bed. Our Creator is supposed to be the most important thing in our life. And if we are out pretending to make deaconships or to make churches and to build stuff, see, the problem with the writings of Paul is that it goes off. It goes completely off. And I've been defending what Paul says pretty much all of my adult life because you always get it. And I was in a Christian church. I thought Paul was my God. I thought he was the man. This man could do no wrong because he was called by Yah. But there is a tremendous amount of speculation as to the witnesses that actually saw Shaul, get the light on him and where he went afterwards. In Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, we have multiple witness accounts of the exact same story that go on and on and on. That's how I corroborate what it goes on. Now with Brother Shaul, we have a lot of the New Testament, and the historians of the New Testament, of the people that have actually read the original writings of Brother Shaul, are convinced without a shadow of a doubt that more than half of the writings they attribute to Paul are not his writings. So what do we make of this? Do we toss half of the book out? Well, that's what the Christians would do because they don't want the Old Testament, right? They don't want the stuff for God's chosen people. They want their own stuff. They want Paul's doctrine. The problem with Paul's doctrine is it can get you into a tremendous amount of problem. So if you guys would realize this and understand this, then I guess continue on reading the books of Brother Shaul, but we have to understand that what he says is contrary to what the rest of the scriptures say. Now that leads us to a conundrum where we either keep our Elohim, Yahuwah, and we keep his laws, statutes, and commands, and we will not go off that road. And if anybody comes and tells us anything differently, and they tell us to go eat food or something of the sort, or the guide for widows or the guide for becoming a deacon, that seems to go against what the Torah is all about. So just be very, very careful with the writings of Brother Shaul and his writings and all of his stuff. Much love to you. I'm out.